Hi you guys, welcome back to the show. You know I'm a big fan of the Roth IRA, but lately I've been wondering, is the Roth 401k the best option for most people? And if so, why? We're going to talk about it next. Firefighter Financial Toolbox. Welcome back you guys. Today we're going to talk about the Roth 401k and why I feel for many people it may be the best option to invest in for your company plan if it allows it. Now, not every company has a 401k with Roth option. Currently in the United States, about 58 to 60% of companies that offer a 401k also offer a Roth option as well. Now, remember, if you do that and you get any kind of match from your employer, the match is always going to be traditional. That's not up to you, that's up to the government. The government says if an employer matches because they get a savings on their taxes, it's always going to be traditional. So it's always going to be tax and retirement. So what is the benefit of doing the Roth 401k option? Well, it's simple. Right now we're in a low tax environment, you guys. If we look at the graph here, we notice that taxes went up a lot. Actually, it went up about 1914. The first big spike we see was during World War I. And then after the war, it came down a little bit, and it came down to the point where we see a real low spot. The low spot there was during the Depression. As we started coming out of the Depression, taxes started going up. And you can see a little spike right about 1940 where World War II kicked in. And if you look at the highest marginal tax rate back then, was actually almost over 90%. And for a while it stayed up there. And then it came down a little bit in the mid 60s and it plateaued. And then it dropped significantly in the early 80s. Now, Republicans love to talk about Ronald Reagan, and it was because of his tax cuts. He dropped the highest marginal tax rate down significantly during his presidency. So that was good for us. And then they went up a little bit in the 90s and through the early 2000s to the point where they are now. Now this current one is not all the way up to date, but we are in a current low tax environment. For example, let me give you my personal thing. If we look at the 2017 tax brackets here, you notice I've circled 153-100 is the bottom of the 28% tax bracket, you guys. Now, for reference, in 2017, I made my wife and I combined made $164,900. So we were in the 28% tax bracket. Now, if you look at the current 2019 tax bracket, you notice that the top of the 22%, that's right, the 22% is $168,400. So if I made that same amount, I would be in the 22% bracket. I've already saved 6% on my income. 6% on my taxes on my marginal rate. Now, this is only federal taxes, you guys. We're not going to get into state taxes because every state has their own rules. Seeing that we're already in a lower tax environment, and if you remember right now, because of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which was the largest overhauling of the tax system in about 3 decades. Now, 3 decades ago, the last overhaul that was that big was Reagan's overhaul, right? So this is significant. Now, whether you agree with the president's politics or not is irrelevant, but we are in a very low tax environment right now for income tax. Now, we know that in 2025, unless it gets extended or fixed, those rates are going to go back up to what they were in 2017, which means I'm going to go back at least 6% if I still make the same amount of money. So we talked about not every company having it. My 457 plan does not have a Roth option, you guys. However, my wife's 401k plan does. And in the last year or so, we've actually been putting a majority of her money into the 401k Roth version because we're in a low tax environment and it's a way to have more tax-free growth. Let's talk about the pros and cons of each one, you guys. So we know for a Roth 401k, the contributions go in after tax. which means you're paying the tax up front and then it's getting put into your account. Where a traditional is made before taxes, so it actually lowers your taxable rate. Now, let's talk about withdrawals. Now, on withdrawals, if you have the account for at least 5 years, now this is important, you do have to have a Roth account for a minimum of 5 years, even a Roth 401k, and you're 59 and a half, all your withdrawals are tax-free. Now, if you leave the Roth 401k in the 401k, you will have RMDs at 70 and a half. But remember, when you finish with your employer, you can always roll the Roth 401k and all the money you have in that account into a Roth IRA, and then you do not have RMDs. With traditional, it's taxed at whatever your ordinary income level is in retirement, which they always tell us it's going to be lower. But as I said, in 2025, our rates are going to go back up. Now, there's also a looming healthcare problem with all the baby boomers. Now, I don't know for sure that our taxes are going to go up to pay for that, but it's a pretty safe bet. I'm not saying they're going to go up. I'm saying I believe there's a good chance they might. That's all I'm saying. So, knowing that, we may actually be in a higher tax bracket in retirement than we are now. So, that's another argument for the Roth 401k. Is this the best option for everybody? No. Everybody's situation is different, you guys. Everybody's individual situation is different. So you have to look at all the options that are pertinent to you and determine if this is the best option. But for a lot of people who were in a higher tax bracket before, who knew that the Roth was not a good option for them, may consider it being a little bit better. The other thing to consider is possibly doing some of your, if you have any traditional assets, it may be beneficial to do some Roth conversions now and get that 5-year clock started on those, because we are in a low tax environment. Maybe converting a little bit up to the top of your tax bracket. Again, individual thing. I don't want to give you tax advice. If you have a question about doing any of this stuff, you guys, talk to a tax professional. He can tell you whether or not this is the best option. But I feel for a lot of people that maybe before have always been told, you know, let's save our money pre-tax, let's save our money pre-tax. And maybe that was the best option for a long time, but maybe now it's not. Anyway, something to think about, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got something out. If you did, give me a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll keep making videos. Thanks a lot.